Employee asked the CO, $50,000 to spend tonight with you? He accepted without hesitation. Camila Reyes never imagined she would say those words out loud. Not to anyone. And certainly not to him. Sebastian Ortega, CEO of Ortega Industries, her boss for 2 years, the man who rarely raised his voice yet commanded every room he entered. The man who looked through people instead of at them. The man who pretended not to notice when she walked into meetings, when her ideas quietly saved projects, when her presence shifted the energy of entire rooms. The man who wanted something from her just as desperately as she wanted something from him, even if neither had ever dared to admit it. But desperation has a way of destroying pride. And Camila was out of time. When she stepped into Sebastian's office that Friday afternoon, when she closed the door behind her and met his eyes without flinching, when she forced the words past her trembling lips. I need $50,000. And I know how to get it. Pay me to spend tonight with you. The world stopped. Not just for them, but for everything that came after. Because that single sentence would unravel years of restraint, expose buried truths, and force both of them to confront the cost of power, dignity, and choice. This is the story of how desperation became courage. How a transaction became a reckoning. And how a woman everyone underestimated revealed a strength no one saw coming. But before that impossible proposal, before the closed door and the silence that followed, everything began 3 weeks earlier, in a doctor's office where Camila's world collapsed without warning. Camila Reyes was 27 years old, an executive assistant who ran a multinational company from the shadows. Organized, efficient, invisible when it suited others. She sat in the stiff plastic chair beside her mother, Rosa Reyes, 58 years old, the strongest woman Camila had ever known, except now she looked small, fragile, afraid. The doctor closed the folder slowly. Mrs. Reyes, he said gently, the results confirm what we suspected. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 3. The air left Camila's lungs. What does that mean? She asked, already knowing she wouldn't like the answer. It's aggressive, the doctor said. But operable. If we act quickly. How quickly? Camila pressed. 2, maybe 3 weeks for surgery. After that, the tumor will progress too far. Rosa squeezed Camila's hand. How much? Camila asked, her voice steady despite the storm tearing through her chest. The doctor hesitated. Between surgery, post-operative treatment, and recovery, around $50,000. Silence slammed into the room. Camila earned a good salary but not that good. Her savings barely crossed $12,000. 13 on a good day. I'll get loans, she said immediately. Banks. Family. Her mother shook her head softly. You don't have family with that kind of money? And banks don't move that fast. So what? Camila snapped, tears burning. I just give up? No, Rosa said quietly. You don't destroy yourself trying to save me. Don't say that, Camila whispered. Rosa touched her face with trembling fingers. I've lived. If it's my time. It's not, Camila said fiercely. I will get the money. And she tried. Bank loans. Rejected. Emergency credit. Denied. Personal lenders. Impossible. Crowdfunding raised $3,000 in 5 days. Not even close. 13 days left. $42,000 short. On a Friday night, alone in her apartment, Camila stared at her bank account. Then the ceiling. Then her hands. What else did she have of value? The thought came like poison. Horrible. Desperate. Unthinkable. And yet, it wouldn't leave. Sebastian Ortega. 35 years old. Absolute control over his world. CEO of a company that had tripled in value under his leadership. Disciplined. Focused. Unattached. Until Camila. She hadn't flirted. Hadn't played games. She didn't use her appearance as leverage like others tried to. She was sharp. Direct. Sometimes almost rude. And that was exactly what pulled him in. 6 months earlier at 11 p.m., he'd found her still working outside his office. You're still here, he'd said. Quarterly reports don't finish themselves, she replied. They ate takeout together that night. Talked about everything except work. And when she laughed, really laughed, something in his chest tightened dangerously. They never crossed the line. But the line blurred. Late nights. Lingering looks. Fingers brushing when she handed him coffee. Electricity neither acknowledged. Until Camila began to break. He noticed first. The dark circles. The trembling hands. The smile that didn't reach her eyes. You okay? He asked one afternoon. I'm fine, Mr. Ortega. Mr. Ortega. Distance restored. 2 days later, he found her crying in the executive restroom. "Camila," he said softly. She wiped her face quickly. "I'm sorry. I just needed a moment." "What happened?" "It's my problem. I'll handle it." She left before he could stop her. And then Friday came. 5 p.m. Camila closed his office door and stood before his desk, fists clenched, chin raised, eyes steady. "Repeat that," Sebastian said quietly. "I need $50,000, she said. "And I know how to get it." "How?" She swallowed. Didn't retreat. "Pay me to spend tonight with you." The silence hurt. Sebastian stood slowly. "Are you serious?" "Completely." "Why do you need that money?" "That doesn't matter." "It does if you're asking me to." He ran a hand through his hair. "Why me?" "Because I don't have time," she said. "And because you want me." Shock flickered across his face. "My mother has cancer," she said finally. "She needs surgery in less than 2 weeks or she dies." Everything in him changed. "I can give you the money without this," he said. "I don't want charity." "It wouldn't be." "It would," she said. "This way we're even." She extended her hand like a business deal. "One night. No one knows. Monday we go back to normal." "And if I say no?" he asked. "I'll find another way," she said. "Or my mother dies trying." He stared at her. Then turned, pulled out his checkbook and wrote $50,000. "For your mother?" he said. "No conditions." Their eyes met. "Tonight," he added quietly. "It. Presidential suite." And just like that, everything changed. That night was supposed to be one thing. A simple transaction. It turned out to be so much more than that. It became a test of power. Who really had control? It was a test of choice. What people are willing to do when they are faced with a tough decision. It was a test of truth. What is real and what is not. The night that was supposed to be a transaction became a test of power, a test of choice and a test of truth. The presidential suite was on the 42nd floor. It was surrounded by glass and city lights. This was a place for people who never thought about what would happen the day. At 8 o'clock, Camila stood in the hallway. Her hand was inches away from the door to the presidential suite. The presidential suite was where she was headed. Camila's heart was beating fast. She thought that the people inside the suite could probably hear her heart beating. The woman knocked on the door one time. Sebastian opened the door immediately as if he had been standing there waiting for the door to be opened. He looked different when he was not in the office. He did not have a jacket on. His tie was loosened. His sleeves were rolled up enough to suggest that Sebastian was not trying too hard to look good. Sebastian's eyes gave him away. Sebastian's eyes were focused. Sebastian's eyes were alert. Sebastian's eyes were torn. "The man said that I was on time. He told me that I arrived at the moment. The time was what it was supposed to be. I was on time." "Camila said you told her 8. Then she stepped inside before she got too scared to do it. The door closed behind her with a click. It was a sound, but it seemed really loud. For a moment the woman and the other person just stood there. The suite was very quiet. You could hear the city down below. It was a long way away. The tension between the woman and the other person was so strong that you could feel it. The woman and the other person just stood there not moving in the suite. This was supposed to be simple. One night and that is it. A transaction, that is all it was. I wanted edges, no messy stuff. Definitely no emotions involved with the transaction. The transaction was supposed to be easy. The air in that room did not feel simple at all. It was like something was off about the air in that room. The air in that room felt really strange. Sebastian said this again, he had said it before. "You do not have to do this," Sebastian said. Camila said, "I do," and her voice did not shake. Her chest felt like it was on fire. She kept talking. "You do too," she said to him. "If you did not, you would not be here now with me talking to me about this," Camila told him. He looked at her, at the navy dress she had chosen on purpose. The dress was elegant. It was not sexy. It was a reminder that she was still the person. She was not something you could buy. She was not something you could ask for and get. The man said that he had ordered dinner. He pointed to the table. "I'm not feeling like eating now. The food is not really appealing to me at this moment. I do not have much of an appetite for the food. Food is just not something I want to eat." He told me to sit down. He said it in a gentle voice. He also said please. That word, please, really surprised her. CEOs do not say please to their assistants. Not in that way. The word please is not something you expect to hear from a CEO when they are talking to an assistant. CEOs just do not say please like that. The city lights were shining between them, reflected in the glass. They were sitting across from each other. A lot of minutes went by. The silence just kept going on and on. The city lights were still shining, reflected in the glass as they sat there. Camila finally said, "This is not what I thought it would be." "Me neither." She let out a laugh that was not funny at all. "You just made that up?" He did not deny it. "I thought about this situation 1,000 ways. None of those ways involve people being desperate like the people in the situation of the desperation that I am talking about with the desperation." The word hit her hard. It was a lot worse than she thought it would be. The word just hit her harder than she expected. She said that she is not weak. She said it very softly. He said, "I know a way." This is really hard for him to watch. It hurts to see this happen. Something in the way he spoke made her feel uncomfortable. "You think this is easy for me?" she asked him. "You think I did not feel bad about myself the moment I thought about this?" She was talking about the decision that had been bothering her. It was clear that the man's tone had really upset her. "You think I did not hate myself," she said, her voice shaking, "the moment this thought came into my mind about what I had to do?" He said that he thinks I am doing what strong people do when they are in a spot. They have to make hard choices. Strong people like that have to make choices when they are cornered. They stood up at the time. This movement was instinctive. The people were now too close to each other. They were too aware of the person. "Camila," he said, and then he talked quietly. "Look at me." The woman did that thing. "Whatever happens tonight," he said, "it happens because we both want it to. We are making this choice together, not because someone paid for it." Her eyes burned. "Then why does it feel like I am the one giving everything to the relationship? I mean, why does it feel like I am the one who is always giving everything to this?" He did not answer away. Instead, he reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out his phone. He tapped the screen of his phone. Then he turned his phone toward her. A bank confirmation was showing on the screen. The bank confirmation was really clear to see on the display. The display had the bank confirmation on it. "The doctor told me that my mother is going to have her surgery. It is going to be on Monday morning. He also said that the surgery is paid for, everything is taken care of, my mother's surgery is paid in full." She felt like she was going to stop breathing for a second. Her breath really caught. It was like her body just forgot to breathe for a moment. Her breath. She had to remind herself to keep breathing. "I did not ask you to do that." He said, "I know. He did that thing because of that reason. He really did it." Tears started falling down her face before she could do anything to stop them. Then she said, "Why are we still here at this place?" He said this to me in a voice. "You did not come here for the money. I did not come here just for the money either." The truth was now out in the open. It was really clear. This truth settled between them. It felt heavy. It was something that they could not deny. The truth was obvious. They talked of touching. They discussed her childhood. The man shared his feelings about being lonely at the top. The conversation was about how power can make people feel alone and how being poor can be overwhelming, and the man and the woman both thought that these two things can make people feel like they are not seen in ways. They talked about how power isolates people and poverty suffocates people, and the woman and the man both understood that these things can make people invisible. Time just went by. Neither of them realized it. The hours passed without either person noticing. The night finally came to an end. It did so very quietly. There was no show or anything like that. No one made any promises to each other. The night just ended with two people standing looking out at something that neither of them could really explain what it was. They were just standing at the edge of this thing. That was it. The morning Camila woke up alone in her apartment. Sunlight was coming in, spreading across the floor. The check was not there anymore. The weight was still there, the weight that Camila felt. Monday arrived like a reckoning. Back at the office, things were not the same as they used to be. The office was not allowed to show this change. The office was supposed to look like everything was normal. The office was actually very different now. The woman said morning to Mr. Ortega. She sounded very professional when she said it. Morning, Ms. Reyes, he said back to her, being just as formal. People saw things that they had not seen before. They noticed that Camila was always telling executives what to do even though they made a lot money than her. Camila corrected these executives a lot. She was always right. Her ideas were really good. They helped meetings to go smoothly. Sebastian listened to what Camila had to say. He did what she said without asking any questions. People talked about this in whispers. They watched Camila with their eyes. They were surprised by how Camila made good decisions and how often she saved the day in meetings. Camila was really smart. People started to notice this. Some people did not like that. Not everyone was happy with it. The thing is, people had opinions about it. Not everyone approved of the situation. By Wednesday, the rumors had already gotten to the Human Resources Department. By Friday, Camila was called into a conference room that she had never been to before. This was a thing for Camila. She had never been invited into this conference room before. The three executives were seated across from her. They all had really cold expressions. They just stared at her with these faces. One person said that they have had some concerns. They are worried about boundaries. They are also worried about favoritism. They think that boundaries are really important and favoritism is not fair to everyone involved. The person is talking about boundaries and favoritism in this situation. Camila felt that people were judging her and it was a feeling she knew too well. It was like she was not good enough, like she was at the bottom and everyone else was looking down on her. The feeling of being a target and one at that was something Camila was very used to. Camila thought about how she was seen as having status and that made her an easy target. The woman said that she has done nothing. She said this in a calm voice. The woman wanted to make it clear that she has done nothing. Someone else said that things do not seem that way. Another person replied. She figured it out then and there. This was not really about what was true. This was really about who was in charge, about control. And this time, she wasn't alone. The door. I was really surprised to see what was on the other side of the door. The door was something that I had been looking at for a while now, wondering when it would finally open. The door was old. It looked like it had not been opened in a long time. Sebastian walked into the room. He was finally there. Sebastian had arrived. The man told them to end the meeting. He said this in a voice. It got really quiet. The silence fell. Immediately, the people did that. Outside the room, Camila looked at him. She was really stunned. She could not believe what she saw. Camila was totally stunned by what happened with him. The woman told him that he did not have to do that. She said it to him. The woman said that he really did not have to do that. Yes, he replied, I did. They tried to destroy her reputation, so she revealed the truth they never expected. By Monday morning, the building felt different. Camila noticed it the moment she stepped through the glass doors of Ortega Industries. Conversations paused when she passed. Eyes followed her longer than before. Not curious, calculating. The kind of looks reserved for people whose names were being whispered in rooms they weren't invited into. She kept walking. 2 years earlier, she would have shrunk under that attention. She would have questioned herself, wondered what she had done wrong, tried to make herself smaller to survive. Not anymore. Her mother's surgery had been a success. The doctor's voice was still fresh in her memory, relieved, hopeful. Rosa was recovering, weaker but smiling, squeezing Camila's hand and calling her brave, in a voice thick with tears. Camila hadn't told her how close everything had come to falling apart. Some truths were burdens meant to be carried alone. At least for now. By noon the email arrived. Mandatory executive review, 2 p.m. No explanation. No subject beyond that. Camila stared at the screen for several seconds, then calmly saved her work and stood up. Around her, co-workers pretended not to watch. Pretended not to care. But they did. The conference room was full when she arrived. Too full. Senior executives. Legal counsel. Human resources. People who had never learned her name suddenly very interested in her existence. At the head of the table sat Sebastian Ortega, expression unreadable. And beside him Victor Hale. Vice President. Ambitious, polished, and threatened. Camila understood immediately. This wasn't about ethics. This was about power shifting where it wasn't supposed to. Ms. Reyes, Victor began smoothly, thank you for joining us. She took a seat. You summoned me. A faint smile flickered across his face. There have been concerns raised regarding your conduct and influence within the company. Concerns raised by whom? Camila asked. Victor glanced around theatrically. Multiple sources. Sebastian's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. We've noticed, Victor continued, that you appear to have an unusual level of access to executive decisions. Influence beyond your role. Camila folded her hands. I execute the responsibilities I was hired for. Responsibilities don't include overruling vice presidents, Victor shot back. No, she replied calmly. Competence does. A ripple moved through the room. Victor leaned forward. Let's not pretend this is about competence. Let's talk about appearances. There it was. Camila inhaled slowly. Say what you mean. Victor smiled. Rumors suggest you've received personal favoritism. Silence dropped like a blade. Sebastian finally spoke. This line of questioning is inappropriate. With respect, Victor said, not looking at him, this company has a reputation to protect. Camila felt the familiar urge to defend herself rise, then settle. She didn't need to explain. She needed to expose. Is this investigation formal? She asked. Legal nodded. Yes. Then I'd like to submit documentation, Camila said. Before this goes any further. Victor blinked. Documentation of what? Of my work, she replied, reaching into her folder. All of it. She stood, connecting her tablet to the screen. What followed was not emotional. It was devastating. Project recoveries attributed to executives, her analysis. Cost-saving measures credited elsewhere, her spreadsheets. Strategic pivots praised by the board, her late-night reports. 2 years of invisible labor laid bare in numbers no one could argue with. Murmurs filled the room. And for the record, Camila continued, her voice steady, every decision I influenced did so because it was correct. Not because of who I spoke to, but because of what I delivered. Victor shifted uncomfortably. And if we're discussing appearances, she added, eyes locking onto him, perhaps we should also discuss who has been blocking my promotions. The room froze. Victor laughed weakly. That's absurd. Is it? Camila tapped the screen again. Emails. Delays. Rejections. All traced back to his office. Sebastian stood. This meeting is over, he said sharply. No, Camila said quietly. It's not. Everyone looked at her. For years, she continued, I was underestimated because my title sounded small. Because I didn't look powerful. Because I didn't demand credit. And people like you, she nodded toward Victor, counted on that. She straightened. I'm done being convenient. The silence was absolute. Victor stood abruptly. This is insubordination. Sebastian's voice cut through the room like steel. Sit down. Victor stared at him. You're choosing her over the company? Sebastian met his gaze. I'm choosing truth. Within hours, the investigation flipped. Victor's conduct came under review. His manipulation. His threats. His fear of being outperformed by someone he thought was beneath him. By the end of the week, he resigned quietly. The office buzzed. Camila's inbox filled, not with suspicion but respect. Invitations. Apologies. And then came the announcement. Camila Reyes, Director of Strategic Operations. No rumors. No explanations. Just results. That evening, Camila stood alone in the empty office, looking out at the city. Sebastian joined her, keeping a respectful distance. You didn't need me, he said. She smiled faintly. I needed the chance. You earned more than that, he replied. She turned to him. So did you. They stood there, not as CEO and assistant, not as a transaction, but as equals who had survived the consequences of honesty. Outside, the city kept moving. Inside, everything had changed.